Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on the PCADV request for proposal process. I'm Jan Davis. I'm PCADV's Program Evaluation and Performance Manager. With me today is Kathy Bobak, PCADV's Chief Finance and Administration Officer. Sir Brantner is our Chief Program Officer. We also have some PCADV coordinators in the room to assist us in this webinar. This webinar will be recorded and posted on PCADV's YouTube site within the next few business days, so we will get started. A couple housekeeping things. You can download the materials, follow the green arrow on the screen. The materials, if you have not already downloaded those, they're available for this webinar. The slides for this webinar are also available. And if you have questions, please use the Q&A box. We will do our best to get responses to you right now. If there are questions that require additional response, we will get a Q&A sheet out to everyone who attended both calls today. Okay, we have muted all users on our end. If you have any technical assistance issues, please use the chat box. So Heather, Kathy, and I are going to do most of the talking this morning. I'm going to walk applicants through the process. Please, please, please ask questions. We will probably be on this webinar no longer than an hour and a half, and that's a far estimate. I think we're going to be moving through this pretty quickly. So please type in your questions as we go along. This webinar will help programs review the guidelines and the proposal process and understand the online platform we are now using for grant submissions. We're going to review the materials that programs need to complete and upload to the grant management system. We're going to talk a little bit about the role of the independent review committees, and we're going to review We will not be discussing content during this webinar. We will be discussing process. On the guidelines, if you are applying for a particular funding area, read each RFP thoroughly. There are differences among the four, so please, please, please read each one and begin responding. If you have not already done so, please develop one letter of intent, list all of the funding areas for which your program plans to apply, and if you have not already gone to the web portal, create a login and password and upload this letter. It's very important that we know which funding area your program is interested in so we can make all of our arrangements to get a good functioning review committee that can take care of the reviews. The software program we're using is called Zengen, and it's a product developed by a grant management corporation called WiseHive. It is extremely easy to use, and I say that as an ETO administrator. You will be delighted with how easy this system is to use. It is a joy. It's very clean. It's pretty straightforward. It is intuitive. So for those of you who are technology shy, don't worry. You're going to be just fine. There are word limits to each section where you will need to insert a narrative within the web portal. We strongly, strongly, strongly encourage programs not to cut and paste old RFP problem descriptions or project descriptions into this portal because this is a competitive process. We encourage you to do some original writing, and the other thing is that reviewers can tell when people have cut and pasted documents because they don't necessarily follow a linear or a logical path. So that's an FYI for you. We are imposing word limits on the narrative sections. Once you are able to get into the proposal platform, you will see that we want you to be as concise and as succinct as possible. So on the problem description and the project or program description, I think we have a 2,000 word limit. It's pretty short, so be aware of that. You can go in if you have to work on part of the proposal and leave and not have it completed. You can do that. You can save it It's kind of like TurboTax. You can go in and work on part of your document, save it, and then come back to it later. As you know, we've talked a lot about having paperless processes, and this is a situation where we are going 100% paperless. So the goal is to not have everyone's time tied up for weeks on end and to have one repository of electronic information. After you submit your application, you will be able to print it out. So it's not, don't feel like you're going to lose all of your documentation, because you will be able, there's a link in there that will help you get that printed out. The web portal is going to be used by both applicants and reviewers, and so the reviewers themselves are going to have their evaluation tool embedded within the portal and completed online. Any other required documents you will be able to upload. In some cases you will need to download, for instance, the Excel budget documents, complete them, and then upload them back to the web portal. Your letters of support you will need to upload to the web portal. Talked about concise narrative sections and the downloading of forms. Uploading documents include the letters of support, your audit, organizational form 990, and your organizational cost allocation plan. We are requiring these documents for each of the funding areas you will be submitting. That is because we are using 4 different independent review committees, and we need to make sure that the committee members have all of the information they need to perform a thorough review of that particular area.
If we have anybody that's on the line that is not a not-for-profit entity, you're obviously not going to have a Form 990. You should still have a cost allocation plan, and instead of an audit, you may have an independent accountant either compiled or reviewed financial statement, and you could use that in place of the audit.
Thanks, Kathy. Okay, we're going to move into the role of the independent review committees. We've made a nationwide call for reviewers. We are very interested in people who have significant experience, whether that be nonprofit management, grant management, folks who have written and implemented proposals, folks from actually outside our world. Could be independent attorneys, people from healthcare systems. We think it's good to get a mix of folks together to enrich the experience of the review committee. Reviewers will not know your program. We are making efforts to avoid any potential known conflicts. While there may be some retired program directors reviewing proposals, they will not have anything to do with your program's regional area. And we can manage that to some extent. If there's a conflict that we cannot manage, then we would ask that reviewer to bow out of the process. We want to be as ethically unencumbered as possible so that folks will be able to make an objective evaluation and a score your program's strong points.
Well, Jen, this is Heather. Just to be clear, when she says reviewers won't know your program, that doesn't mean that they won't have your program's name and information. She means that we won't select reviewers who know your program to do that actual review. I just want to make that clear that they will in fact have your program's name, contact information, etc.
Great. Thank you, Heather. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, we have working timeline. We call these working timelines because they can change, but this is what we are going with at the moment. The civil legal representation and the medical advocacy programs are due respectively April 12th and April 19th. So our notification to programs as to whether they're funded or not for civil legal is May 3rd. For medical advocacy is May 10th. For both the core domestic violence services and the culturally specific project, the grant submission date is April 26th, and that is because the core is most folks who are going to be applying. That review period ends May 17th. We realize that there may be some additional follow-up required, and if our fiscal folks who will be reviewing your budget documents at the same time the independent review committee is reviewing both your budget and your programmatic documents, we hope to have that completed by June 28th. So once those two processes, the independent review committee process and the fiscal review process is done, that formal notification is July 1st. Week beginning July 1st, but we're not going to linger on this, so we'll be taking care of things as expeditiously as we can.
So this is Kathy Bobek. For the programs, if you remember last year, finance really meticulously went through the budget. We expect the same level this year. So if yours was returned or there were additional questions asked after you submitted it last year, please factor all those things into the budget that you're submitting right now. If not, it really does slow down the approval process on the budget piece of it.
Great, Kathy. And know that we are available to help you also, to the extent that we are not going to be discussing content. If you have questions related to the process, please, please, please let us know. And if you have questions, you know who we are and where we live at PCADV, so please email or pick up the phone. We are available. Between the three of us, there's usually at least two of us in the office at the same time. Are there any particular questions?
Or if there's any budget questions, any finance-related questions, please submit them to finance@pcadv.org because there's three of us in this process, and by submitting it to finance, you will receive an answer much quicker.
And if you have a technical problem in the RFP, there's an email there for our IT folks who can help you with any submission problems or uploading problems, etc.
Last night, we made a final test of the links to the web portal so you can get into the funding areas, and it's actually one giant long page where you will need to put in your narrative, download, complete, and upload some documents, upload only some documents. I think you're going to like this a lot. It's a very, very streamlined process this year. So I look forward to hearing your comments about what it looks like and the things you need to worry about as far as uploading and the things you don't have to worry about uploading at this point.
And the online submission portal will be open by 5 o'clock today. So if you don't see it active and open by then, definitely check at 5 p.m. today.
Okay.
But we've got a room full of pros.
Well, all right then. If you have questions, if you need information, please don't hesitate to contact us, and good luck. Have a great weekend.